Welcome to Coach Bennett's podcast, where every run has a purpose, where kindness is hardcore, where this is about running, and this is not about running, where every starting line is a finish line in disguise, where rambling still gets you where you need to be, where pineapple will never ruin your pizza, and the sodas, adult and not adult kind, are always cold, and where there is room on the starting line for everybody. I'm Coach Bennett. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 113 of Coach Bennett's podcast. This one is entitled Get Fast. And you know what? It's inspired by the people that I meet every Wednesday morning on Nike's WHQ. That's their world headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon, for just an open track workout. It's open to anybody. It starts at 7 a.m. at the Michael Johnson track. And you know what we do? We do track workouts. That's right. No one knows what the workout is until they show up. Sometimes I don't even know what the workout is until the drive over and I start putting some music on. And I'm like, you know what? What would be a fun workout for everyone to do today? And then, you know what? We just do it. We just do it. And we had a great crowd today, a big crowd today. And it was a lot of fun. And it was wild. And it was a good time. And so, you know what? I thought, I get a lot of people who want to know how to get fast or get faster. It's not that complicated. And what we're going to do is we're just going to break down some of the ways, not all the ways, but some of the ways you can get fast. All right? Full stop, get fast. That's the whole thing. And if I do this correctly, this podcast episode goes by pretty fast. Not just because it's a lot of fun, but also because I'm not wasting your time. So let's just get right into it, shall we? Okay, here's one of the first things I want to, well, not one of the first things, here's the first thing I want to talk about, okay? Which is just make your easy runs more fun. And I know everyone's thinking, wait a minute, aren't you going to tell me all the different speed workouts I can do, and you're going to break down the intervals and do this many repeats at this many, seconds per mile or K, and how much just pump the brakes, everybody, and hear me out. Make your easy runs more fun. And the reason why I'm starting with this is because the overwhelming majority of minutes, meters, and miles that you run during the week are going to be easy run minutes, meters, and miles. So if you can make your easy runs more fun, guess what's going to happen? That's going to lead to more consistency. Oh yeah, and you know what consistency does? Consistency leads to increased endurance. And you know what endurance does? Endurance helps you become faster. So listen, I can get you fast without building your endurance. The problem is most people want to get fast most people want to take advantage of their fast when they need to take advantage of their fast, which just so happens to coincide with when they want to be fast. The problem is people aren't strong enough to take advantage of their speed when they want to take advantage of their speed because they've used up all of their speed early in a run or a race or a workout because they don't have enough endurance. So, one of the easiest ways to build endurance is to run easy runs. Get that mileage, get those minutes, get those meters in on those recovery runs. If you can do that, you're building a foundation for your speed. So, what I want you to do is make your easy runs more fun. Yes, make them more fun. If they are a drag, if they are boring, if they are tedious, if there's something that you look at and you're like, oh, I got to do another recovery run. Oh, I got to do another easy run. Okay, the blame does not lie with the run. It lies with the runner. Look at yourself in the mirror and figure out why your easy runs are so flippin' boring. I'll tell you what, it probably has to do with the way you're running them. You're probably running the same route at the same time, at the same pace, and guess what? it just becomes the same over and over, which becomes a monotony. And yes, early on, this may work. Early on, this may feel like you're getting into a groove. But I'll tell you what, very quickly, a groove can turn into a rut. And if it turns into a rut, you're in trouble. So, tip number 1, make your runs more fun. Yeah, those easy runs, those recovery runs, make them more fun. Those just the runs that you do. Make them more fun. How do you do that? I would say that the first thing you can do is you can mix them up. You can diversify the type of easy runs that you're doing. And by that, I mean the time of day that you're running. And guess what? Maybe you don't have the ability to adjust the way I'm telling you to adjust, or diversify the way I'm telling you to diversify. But I'll tell you what, one of these things you're going to be able to do. And even one is going to mix up your run quite a bit. If you're doing the same run over and over and over again, just doing one of these things is going to mix it up dramatically. So mix up the time of day that you're running. If you normally run in the mornings, maybe every once in a while you can run in the afternoons. Maybe every once in a while you can run in the early evenings. Maybe every once in a while you can run at nighttime. And if you're not comfortable running at nighttime, maybe every once in a while you can run at nighttime with a friend. And now you feel comfortable running at nighttime. Or maybe you can run on a treadmill and you can feel comfortable doing the run. And that mixes it up. You're normally running on the roads. Now you're running on a treadmill. If you normally run on the roads, maybe just simply changing the terrain. Running on a boardwalk or running on a trail is going to mix things up. These are the things that you can do. Maybe you normally run on a flat surface. Well, finding a hilly loop is going to mix things up. If you can only run one loop at one time, run it backwards. Or go back and forth, go out and back as opposed to a total loop. These are things you can do to just mix things up. It's going to change the run, which means the run is going to feel more unique than it normally does, because it's not unique in enough ways for you to feel that it's exciting, that it's invigorating, that it's inspiring, that it's something that you want to do. So make your easy runs more fun. That's going to lead to more consistency. Consistency is going to lead to increased endurance. That's going to help you get faster. Okay, next. Listen, I love ice cream. Specifically, I love mint chocolate chip. If mint chocolate chip is not available, I'm probably just doing chocolate chip. That's what I'm going to do. All right. Now, if I'm going to a place that doesn't have ice cream, it's just got, like, let's say soft serve ice cream, doesn't have hard ice cream, I'm probably just doing soft serve chocolate ice cream. Regardless of the type of ice cream, the flavor of ice cream, I want a healthy dose of sprinkles. For those of you in the Midwest of the United States, you're calling them Jimmies. I'm not quite sure what they're called anywhere else. I hope they're just called sprinkles, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the best word. Sprinkles is such a fun word. So let's just pause here for a moment and just sit with the word sprinkles. Okay? Like, if you're in a bad mood, just think of the word sprinkles. Think of how you could potentially get sprinkles into a number of different conversations. I'll tell you what, it's not going to fix whatever's wrong, but it is going to put you in a slightly better state of mind. If nothing else, it's going to make you smile a little, and that's a good thing. But anyway, sprinkle speed throughout your week. Sprinkle speed throughout your week. Now, this does not mean you need to be doing full-blown speed workouts, okay? But you can mix things up, and you can sprinkle a little speed even in an easy run. You can do it even before the run. If you want to, warm up a little bit, if you want to do some stretching, then maybe do some strides. Strides are a form of speed work, and by strides, all I'm saying is an elevated pace, a quicker pace for a short period of time, where you're not doing this as a workout. You're doing it to just basically wake your body up before a hard workout, before a race, or even just before an easy run. You can do it at the end of an easy run or a recovery run, where you finish, maybe you do some light stretching, and then you do a few strides. You do 3, 4, 5, 6 strides. It could be 30 meters, 50 meters, 70 meters, 100 meter strides. You just do a few to open things up, to just feel fast. It doesn't need to be a full-blown speed run for you to get speedy. And I'll tell you what, sprinkling a little bit of that speed will invigorate your running. It feels good to run fast. Running fast is fun. Yes, at times it can feel a little scary, which at times can also be really, really, really fun. But it also reminds the athlete that you are, the runner that you are, that you've got some get down, nasty stuff in your back pocket. So if you're not training for a race, if you're in between seasons, if you're just coming back from a long training cycle or a race, you can still do a few strides. Remember, you're in charge. You can decide how long the stride is. You can decide how intense the stride is. You can decide how much recovery you have between the strides. That's it. But look at it as just sprinkling a little bit of speed. It doesn't have to be looked at as some intense speed run. No, you're just sprinkling a little bit of speed. Now, I will also say when I do sprinkles, I get lots of sprinkles, and I ask for it in a very specific way. I'll say, can I get extra sprinkles on top and on the bottom? So what I mean by that is before you put any ice cream in the cup, dump some sprinkles in there. Then put the ice cream on top, then put some more sprinkles on there. And then that way, when I'm done, eating the top layer, which is covered in sprinkles, and you're like, oh, now it's ice cream with no sprinkles. No, there's some hidden treasure. It's a whole bunch of sprinkles at the bottom of the cup or the cone. Let's go. So sprinkle a little bit of speed. And you know what? I'm going to throw in one more thing. In the midst of a recovery run or an easy run, you can do a little fartlek. And it doesn't need to be a long fartlek. Now, I have a name for short fartleks. I call them shartleks. Granted, it gets a lot of laughs and a lot of uncomfortable looks when I say shartlek. To me, it just cracks me up because it means short fartlek, but obviously we know, fartlek and shartlek. Anyway, if you're a child at heart, you're going to giggle a little bit, and I haven't copyrighted it or trademarked it or anything like that, but I've posted it enough times where I'm the only one who has said shartlek. So if you think you're going to steal shartlek, think again, my friend. I came up with it. Here's what it is. It's a short fartlek. You can just throw in a couple bursts of speed, back to recovery run pace, a little bit of speed, back to easy run pace, a little bit of speed, back to recovery run pace, and then you're done. It's just a short fartlek that you can sprinkle wherever you want. It can be on its own. It can be, you do a little warm-up, you do a couple of minutes of fartlek, classified as a shartlek, and then you cool down and you're out of there. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you're done. You're done. The point is getting your body to open things up, getting your body to push beyond easy run pace, recovery run pace, your long run pace, your tempo pace. Just putting in a couple of sprinkles, some spicy little sprinkles, okay? Another thing I want to bring up is speed work in disguise. Now, you've probably heard that before, speed work in disguise, but I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I was on a call with Coach Bennett, the grader, that's Coach Tammy, with the Best Runner Ever group Summer Edition. So that we have a Best Runner Ever Winter Edition and a Best Runner Ever Summer Edition over the course of the year. Right now we're in the midst of the Best Runner Ever Summer Edition, and on the call we were talking about speed work, we were talking about drills and all this stuff, and I said, hills, drills, and strides are all speed work in disguise, and suddenly I was like, wait a minute, that rhymes, and it rhymes in a really cool way. So I'm going to say it again. Hills, drills, and strides are all speed work in disguise. So if you want to get fast, and we're not looking at speed runs, we're not looking at doing intervals, we're not looking at doing long fartleks, anything like that, well, guess what? Just some hills, drills, and strides are all speed work in disguise. Now, I already talked about strides, but just incorporating hills into your running is going to help you develop speed. That's right. So if you constantly are running flat, if there's a way for you to incorporate maybe some hills in your neighborhood, or maybe there's some bridges that you can run over, maybe there's some parks that you don't normally go to, but you could go to and they have some hills, it doesn't matter. Find some hills. And guess what? You're going to be building speed because of the way that hills work you. They work you in a different way than running flat does. Drills. whether this is hurdle drills, ladder drills, this is just your A skips and your B skips and your butt kicks. I mean, there's so many different ways you can develop speed that doesn't involve a full-blown workout. And I'll tell you what, I had a great teammate of mine in high school, and then we eventually became teammates again when we ran for the Nike Farm team. He was injury prone. And what would happen is if he did too much speed work, if the speed work was too intense, I'm not going to say he always got hurt, but you were rolling the dice, okay? You were getting, the worry was you were getting a little greedy, so you had to be a little careful with how you worked him out. So in lieu of doing the speed work, which was necessary, it was, okay, what are the non-running speed runs? Well, they're hills, they're drills, and they're strides. So he would do strides, he would do recovery runs that were on hills, but he also was very, very focused on nailing his drills. Lots of hurdle work, which is up and overs, and at some point I'll show you some of these drills, but they're all about power and balance, okay? And great running form. These are the things that you're working on when you're doing drills. All of those things come into play when you want to run fast, when you want to develop the ability to run fast. And not just for short periods of time, but for longer periods of time, and to develop bursts of speed and the ability to shift speeds. I mean, there's a lot of different types of speed. I'm just going to throw that in there. And there's a lot of different ways to develop that speed. But if you can incorporate hills, and if you can incorporate drills, and if you can incorporate strides, all of these speed work in disguise, well, what's going to happen is it's going to take some of the pressure off your speed runs, because you're not just relying on your speed runs to develop speed. And if you can be consistent with your running, your recovery runs, your easy runs, and your long runs, you're building that endurance, which is also meaning you're going to be able to take advantage of this speed that you're building when you want to take advantage of it, okay? So remember, speed work in disguise. And what do I mean by that? Hills, drills, and strides are all speed work in disguise, all right? Now, another thing I want to throw in there is if you want to play running at your best, keep playing other sports. Now, this is what I mean by that. When you really start to fall in love with running, you start to stop paying attention to some of these other friends or relationships that you had. And that's normal if you think of it as a human relationship. You know, you find that one person that you really love, and you kind of put your blinders on in some regards to other people and other relationships in your life. And I don't fault anybody for doing that. I did the same thing when I found Coach Bennett the Greater. Like, this is who you want to spend the majority of your time with. Okay, so what that means is, though, it's that you can kind of screw up other relationships in your life with good friends that you've had or family. So what I want you to do is fall deeply, madly, passionately in love with running, and also maintain those relationships with those other sports. Okay, maybe it's not the same relationship, but it's still a relationship. And the reason why is because what happens is when we start to fall head over heels in love with running, we cease to be a great athlete anymore, because we only focus on becoming a great runner at the disservice of being a great athlete. So what happens is it's like, maybe you used to play, soccer or whatever, global football or basketball. It doesn't matter. You used to play a sport that involved lots of side-to-side movements, starting, going, okay, jumping. And what happens is when you cease doing that, running in and of itself does not replicate that. So yes, you become a better runner, but you do not continue to become a better athlete. And I'll tell you what, runners, pretty easy to get hurt. Great athletes, not so easy. So if you want to get faster, don't stop being a great athlete. Now, those drills that we talked about, yes, they're going to help you mimic some of that side-to-side movement. But don't be afraid of playing some pickup basketball, going on the pitch and playing some football. Don't be afraid of playing some tennis. Now, you got to be careful, because remember, you have a limited amount of energy that you can give, and every time you're expending energy, it's going to demand recovery. So you got to take that into account. But don't be afraid to keep playing other sports. Don't think because you want to play running, you can't play anything else. That's not true. In fact, if you're intelligent about it, playing other sports will help you play running better. And yes, I'm using the term play running over and over and over again because in our sport, we never, ever, ever use the term play running, and we should. It will change your mentality if you think of yourself as playing running. Instead of saying, I got to go run 10K today, you say, you know what, I got to go play running for 10K today. Remind yourself of that. I think it's very, very important, especially if you want this to be a lifelong sport or you want to be your best in this sport at any point. You have to keep the element of play in this sport. And if you want to be the best you can possibly be, I think you should continue to play other sports. I do not think you need to sacrifice other sports for running. You may need to be more intelligent about how you take advantage of those sports or play those sports, but you do not need to say goodbye to them, all right? You may need to change your relationship with them, but you don't need to cut them off. So you're going to play running better by playing other sports. Basketball, soccer, global football, tennis, even tag. I know it sounds crazy, like tags for kids. Yeah, all games are for kids, right? And you never stop being a kid. I just want newsflash here. You're always going to be a kid. And in many regards, the best parts of you are the kid parts. So, yeah, tag is a badass workout. So's Frisbee football. That's a great one, too. I mean, I haven't played Frisbee football in a really long time, but I remember it was not easy and it was a lot of fun, which is, from a coaching perspective, just about perfect. Okay. I got a couple more things, and then we can wrap this up because this is about getting fast, and you've got a lot to do, so I want to not be slow here, but whatever. Okay, get punk rock. Now, what do I mean about that? Well, what I mean about that is I think about the Ramones, all right? So a couple things about the Ramones. One, they're awesome, and if you aren't listening to the Ramones, then this is a gift for you because you should be listening to the Ramones. They're absolutely fantastic. But what I want to focus on here is actually not their songs. I'm not going to bring up some of their songs, even though I could all day long. I'm going to talk about two things they said about their songs. All right. One of them was that we play short songs for people who don't have a lot of spare time. So just remember that in the back of your head. We play short songs for people who don't have a lot of spare time. They also got asked once, like, how do you write such great short songs? And they said, we actually write long songs. We just play them really fast. Now, when you combine those two things, I just want to remind you that if you don't have a lot of time, well, you can still get a lot done. If you don't have a lot of time, you can still run really fast for a short period of time. And guess what? That's great. That's awesome. And it's fun. I think if you've listened to me, you know how I feel about 5-minute runs and 10-minute runs and 15-minute runs. They're legit. Absolutely. And in a lot of ways, they're the glue that keep together an entire training plan. Because some people will be like, oh, work got crazy and I only have like 10 minutes and that's not even a real run. BS, that is legit a real run. And then they don't run that day and then they're upset that they didn't run when they wanted to run. So then the next day, they're a little beat up and they're like, oh my goodness, I missed a day and I was supposed to run. So then they're more likely to not run. And here's just something to remember. You're more likely to run again when you've run. Just remember that. I didn't say when you've run 5K or 15K or 15 miles. All I said was you're more likely to run again if you've run. Yeah, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 12 minutes, even if it's 1K or 3K, you're more likely to run again. And what was the first thing I told you? First thing I told you is make your easy runs more fun. That's going to lead to more consistency. More consistency is going to lead to increased endurance, and endurance will help you become faster. So do not diminish the value of a short little run. And if it's short enough, it's not that big of a deal how fast you run it. So if you only have 5 minutes, keep picking it up each minute. And by the end, you're running pretty quick. And guess what? You got to leave. You got to get out of there because you got class, you got work, you got other responsibilities. Great. If you only have 15 minutes, warm up for 5 minutes, stretch for 5 minutes, and then throw down for 5 minutes. Like, you can have some fun and you can run fast. Just make it punk rock. If you don't have a lot of time to do a 15-minute song, well, guess what? Make that 15-minute song into a 5-minute song. And you know how you do that? You channel the Ramones and you play some punk rock. That's what you do. And guess what? Those are some ways to get fast that maybe you weren't thinking of. Yes, you can look up a lot of ways, or here's the training plan, and here's some workouts to do. That's not what this podcast was about. This podcast was about making you realize that not everything has to be between the so-called lines, that not everything has to be this well-thought-out training plan. Because I'll tell you what, even the most well-thought-out training plan is going to be changed, adjusted, because things come up. But if you realize how you can be flexible, how you can adjust, how you can have some fun with your running, it's going to lead to more running. And if that more running is more intelligent running, more smart running, if it's more inspired and motivated running, it's going to have a better chance at leading to more better running. Grammatically, not sure if the last 30 seconds was, spot on, but I think you get what I'm saying. All right? And that was episode 113. There it was. Share it, like it, review it, talk about it at the water cooler or on the bus or in the subway. Write a letter to the editor and say this episode was straight, stone cold badassery. Do whatever you need to do. So I think it's important because I think we can all be fast if we want to. And we're the only ones that are keeping ourselves from being fast, right? Enough of you tell me how slow you are, but you can't be slow unless you're fast, because slow is only in relation to fast. So, if you're going to own your slow, good for you. You just need to own your fast too. And I just gave you a whole bunch of ways to do that. So, go get fast. And until the next episode, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll meet you on the next starting line. Thank you so much for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast today. And if you haven't already subscribed or set yourself as a follower to the podcast, I really hope you would. And make sure you check out the show notes, because in those show notes, you're going to find a link to Coach Bennett's newsletter and all the social media sites I'm on, like Instagram and Threads and Cameo and Blue Sky and nope, not on that one anymore. So all the ones I am on, you're going to find it in the show notes, so check that out as well. And as always, thank you again for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast. Until next time, you keep taking care of yourself and each other.